Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Chris Spade. I wanted to create this YouTube video for you so that way you had an idea of what it was like to buy a house in San Diego. And let's just go through the entire step-by-step process and the mistakes that I see most home buyers make. And I want to make sure that you don't make these mistakes. So I'm going to go through the whole process with you so you can understand it. Just so you know, you can probably tell from the little timer below that this is going to be about a 35-minute video. So this is going to be a longer video, but it's going to be the step-by-step process and the things to avoid when you're buying a house in San Diego. So avoid these costly mistakes. San Diego First-Time Homebuyer Class Edition. Now, typically a first-time homebuyer is classified as somebody who hasn't bought a house in 3 years because, let's face it, a lot has changed in the real estate landscape. So buying a house, there's just a lot that goes on. The other thing I like to call this little class is how not to screw this up, okay? Because there are mistakes and there are things that buyers do and they do them in the wrong order. And then these are the biggest screw-ups. So let's talk about how you can avoid those. So I want this to be interactive. So I know this isn't live, but I want you to drop comments with questions because I will answer them. I want you to send me a DM. You can find me on all the socials. DM me there. Instagram is the best way, or TikTok is the best way to get me. You can also text me. I've always got my phone on me, so you can text me 619-818-2992. That's my cell phone number. I will answer those questions. So stack up those questions in the comments and I will answer them, or send me a DM because I want to be the one that helps you out. So let me ask you, how are you feeling right now as you're starting to watch this video? Are you feeling a little concerned? Maybe a little bit stressed out about buying a house? It's a stressful process. We're going to go over how stressful it is when we meet in person. Are you feeling a little intimidated? Well, I'm hopefully going to demystify this for you because I want you to know what's going on, maybe even before you pick up the phone and call me, because the reason I want you to have this information is because I don't want you to feel intimidated. I don't want you to feel anxious about this process, and I certainly do not want you to feel uncertain. So, my goal today, and it's an easy one, I want to make you feel in control, or at least in ease about the process. And don't worry, you've got this. I have faith in you. So who am I? My name is Chris Spade. I'm just going to go over this just a little bit. I'm the president and co-founder of Spade Homemade Inc. I'm responsible for the sale of several hundred homes across San Diego, and I help buyers and sellers sell their homes across San Diego County. I've even dabbled a little bit in Temecula as well, so I can help you up there as well, because I go up there for wine country all the time. So my big why are my two Pembroke Welsh Corgis, Missy and Otis. They are my big why. Missy is the black one, and Otis is the sable in the front. Make no mistake, Missy is the alpha of the house. I've lived in San Diego for 32 years. I've been in real estate for 19 years. I am a graduate of San Diego State University, the class of 99. I do have a journalism degree, and fun fact, I spent almost 10 years as a journalist throughout San Diego County doing radio and television. I also volunteer with serving seniors to help low-income seniors across San Diego County. My specialty is helping downsized seniors and relocating them into whatever that next phase of life is, whether it's helping them sell their house and buy a condo, or helping moving them into an assisted community. We do that as well. All right. So here's what I've learned in almost 19 years, that most buyers screw this process up. So let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to go over first-time homebuyer mistakes. And based on 19 years of doing this, I can tell you that 90% of first-time homebuyers end up in the wrong house and or the wrong deal, because one of the reasons they're working with the wrong agent. But my job today is to help you see around the corners so that way you are the most well-prepared homebuyer in the county. All right. Mistake number one. This is a big mistake that people make. They don't take advantage of first-time home buyer programs. So let's talk about this. But first, I want you to drop a sad face in the comments below if you like the idea of leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table, because I know that if you're watching this, you're smart, right? You don't want to leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table. So let's talk about how to avoid this. So what is a first-time home buyer program? First of all, it is specific to the location of the home in 99% of cases. So San Diego has theirs. Chula Vista has theirs. National City, the county of San Diego has theirs. If you're getting a USDA 100% financing, that has to be in the backcountry of San Diego County. So These are specific to the location of the home. Number two, they are dependent on your income, but don't think you have to be low income. A lot of people don't even want to explore first-time homebuyer programs because they think they have to be low income, and that's just not the case. You do not have to do that. In fact, in some of the programs, you can have a combined income of up to $120,000. So if you and your partner, or whoever you're buying the house with, is making $60,000 apiece, you can definitely qualify for some of these programs. They may require you to hang on to the home for a few years, though. So this is not something that you can turn around quickly. Some of them require you to hold the home for about 5 years or 7 years or so on. They may, in some cases, have interest rates that are more favorable than the market rate. Not always, but in some cases they do. And those are other options we can explore. Some are 100% financing. Now, you're always going to need your earnest money deposit. Your earnest money deposit is typically 1% of the overall purchase price, which we'll go over in just a minute. Some are down payment grants where they're given to you and you never have to pay them back. Okay, so sometimes you get grants for closing costs, which we'll go over, but those are typically from 2 to 3% of the purchase price. Some of them are grants for the actual down payment itself. So those, some of those are just totally forgivable once you get them. Some are based on what kind of job that you do. So if you're a teacher, a police officer, a firefighter, a nurse, there's different loan programs for you that you can qualify for just based on your job that you do. Some of these programs literally exist because banks did bad stuff in the 1960s. They did bad things. And so these loans are specifically because they screwed up. Some are federal tax credits that can pay you back every year for part of your mortgage interest. You need to talk to your CPA about that, and the lenders that you work with that I'll refer you to will go over some of these programs more if you fall into that. If you don't fall into that, then that's not going to be something that applies to you. And you may be able to stack one on top of the other. So typically you can get some sort of down payment assistance. You might get a silent second loan, but we can also stack a closing cost grant on top of that. Those are absolutely possible as well. But here's two ugly facts that you need to know about. Big banks will steer you away from most first-time homebuyer programs because they lose money on them. And they're the ones that were originally had to do this because, like I said, they did the bad stuff in the 60s. Now, sellers agents, they're going to tell their clients not to accept your offer because your letter is from a big bank, and you can't blame them, because I get a little nervous when I see something from one of the big banks. And the big banks, those are the Chases, the B of A's, the Wells Fargo. Those things make people nervous. But the truth and the reality is these programs are available to you, so we will be able to utilize these as well. So drop another emoji. Do you like leaving thousands of dollars on the table? Nobody does that, so let's move on. Mistake number 2. Buyers do the right things, but they do them in the wrong order. And so you are not doing the things that you should be doing in the order that you should be doing it. So let's talk about, have you ever made a mistake? Have you ever made a cake? You put all the ingredients in, but you were stirring the batter the wrong way, and then the cake somehow came out like this. It might have tasted okay, but it didn't look very desirable, and it was going to be really super hard to frost. Well, that's kind of like what home buyers do. They do everything they're supposed to do, but they do it in the backwards order, which then causes problems for them. So let's go over the recipe for buying the wrong house. First and foremost, people stalk Zillow for up to 3 years. Zillow, Redfin, whatever. I'm a big fan of going on the Redfin app myself. I have my own app, but even I go on the Redfin app. They disqualify themselves from homes or neighborhoods that they were actually attainable. Because like I'm talking about, these first-time homebuyer grant programs, they may require you to take some sort of education, but once you've taken that education, you may be able to buy into a neighborhood that you thought was completely unattainable. And that's not actually the case. So you have to, get curious about what those programs are. The next step is people get curious. They might call a few for sale signs. You might call people like me who've got a for sale sign in the yard and ask me a little bit about the house and what it is. And sometimes I find that buyers will get frustrated when they've kind of gone through this process and doing it in the wrong order. And they'll say, well, I don't think the house is worth more than $500,000 when the house is priced at $800,000. And so I can always tell that somebody who is frustrated because they haven't gone through the process, or the realtor that they're working with has not explained to them the process. You might walk into a builder model or three, which is a bad idea. We'll go over that in a minute. But that's a bad idea because the agent in the builder's office, they work for the builder. They do not work for you. It's a one-sided transaction. You might visit a few open houses, kick in a few tires, see what that's all about, may talk to a few agents, and then you finally get tired and you walk into either a builder or an open house and you buy something that might be a really bad deal. And you might actually work with somebody who's not been in the business quite as long as I have, and they might not be advising you as best they could, and there might be something missing. I know these buyers one time walked into an open house. It wasn't me they were working with, but I met them when they went to go sell the house. When they bought the house, they never did a foundation inspection, and so I talked them into doing pre-inspections because they had owned the home for 5 years. I said, let's do some pre-inspections. Let's make sure everything looks good. It turns out their foundation was bad, and it had been bad for a long time. And there was $75,000 in foundation repair that they did not know about. Had they known about that when they would have bought the house 5 years ago, they probably wouldn't have ended up buying that house, but that agent didn't advise them correctly. Mistake number 3, they get sucked into the builder's marketing machine. So here's the problem with builders, and you should never walk into a builder community unrepresented without some agent there. Most builders will pay the agents that bring in the buyers with representation. So there is absolutely no one looking out for you. You walk into that builder unrepresented and they'll do everything they can to create a one-sided deal. It's literally, guys, their job. They will create a one-sided deal. They work for the builder. They do not work for you. So what we're going to do is how we win is we're going to look for some of the off their books units that they need to sell. Sometimes what happens is somebody will come in, they'll customize a unit. The unit will, be so much money. It'll be more than, what they wanted. And for whatever reason, the buyer backs out. It could be they lost their job. They're going through a divorce. Somebody died. Like literally there's a number of things that could happen. And they need to get it off their books. And so they kind of keep that one off to the side a little bit and they'll say, okay, well then I'll show you this one. It's really upgraded, but we might be able to get a better deal on that one simply because it's one of those things that was so overly upgraded that it's got a unique taste. And you're like, you know what, I can deal with this. I'll just remodel it down the road. But like, for example, one example of that is somebody put in black carpet throughout the house, literally black carpet. It was one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in a new build. But my client was able to take it because they're like, I can just change out the carpet for a lot less than what I'm going to end up, what this is going to cost. So they really liked that. Now, in this market, if we don't get the deal we want, we just play the walk-away game. Because I'll tell you right now, builders are desperate to sell their homes. I'm constantly getting emails from builders all over San Diego County that are like, if you come in this weekend, deals for your clients, blah, 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 blah. So these are things that I literally want to make happen for you. So if we don't like what we get, we just walk away. Mistake number 4, they get intimidated by the numbers. So let's talk a little bit about those numbers. Here's no more confusion. So let's talk about the closing costs. Closing costs are fees from title, lender, rate buy downs, and HOA fees. So that's a part of it. A, B, and C all make up your closing costs. So you need to have all these things. And if you're buying in an HOA, you're going to have to collect HOA fees for like you're going to pay from the date that the escrow closes and the next month's HOA fees. And then you're going to get on the cycle to pay your own HOA fees. B, it's going to be your one-time VA funding fee if you're doing a VA loan, or upfront mortgage insurance fee. And so those are important that that's part of it. And number C, there are going to be any prepaid taxes or insurance. So taxes in San Diego County are paid in arrears. So again, everything is prorated from the date that you close the escrow. So if you close the escrow today, then whatever the tax rate is today, then you'll be paying that tax rate, and the escrow officer will make the adjustment. So your closing costs, your overall closing costs, are approximately 2 to 3% of the overall purchase price. The bad news, That's kind of expensive. So if you're spending $800,000, you're looking at an extra $16,000 to $24,000 just on your closing costs. But the great news is we can try to get the seller to pay for them. And why not try to get the seller to pay for them? Because if they've had their house in the market for 150 days, they may want to get rid of that house, and they may want to pay your closing costs in order for that to happen. And so that can come in the form of your closing cost, your agent commissions, whatever, rate buy downs, you name it. We can talk about that as we start to sit down individually, one-on-one. It's all about the monthly payment. So how can the more expensive homes sometimes have the less expensive monthly payment? Well, this is how we do it. We get some of those closing costs paid for. We can do rate buy downs. We can do rate buy downs. We can get your closing costs paid for. We can get there's a number of things we can do, but basically the rate buy down is going to be the biggest one. And don't freak out because interest rates go up, they go down. So once you're locked into your interest rate, unless you're doing a 2-1 buy down or a 3-2-1 buy down, your payments will go up slightly to what the rate would be today. And these are all discussions we'll have because that's on a case-by-case basis. And we'll have those discussions with the lender. But everybody's different. We just want to make sure that you understand the overall picture of it in this video, but that would be through a rate buy down. So let's talk about credit reporting. So if you're concerned about your credit score, relax. You're going to be fine. I promise. Okay. Now, if you're just starting this process out, okay, and you're just dipping in your toe, all right, and you're not 100% ready, what I would suggest you do is you get online and you just kind of shop online mortgage lenders like Quicken or Rocket Mortgage or something like that. And just fill out the information. The downside to that is you are going to get inundated with phone calls because you are going to have to put in your phone number. So you will get inundated by phone calls, no doubt about that. But don't do a hard pull right away, because if you're thinking like, oh, I have, $4,000 in the bank, and if I want to buy an $800,000 house, I need to save about $24,000, $28,000 if I'm going to do an FHA, plus my closing costs. It's around $44,000. I'm not really ready yet, but I just kind of want to dip my toe in and just kind of see what do they say my credit is, because your mortgage credit score is different from the credit score that they use if you're going to get a credit card or buy a car or anything like that. And if your credit score takes too big of a hit, you might be declined for any loan that you may want to apply for in the future. So you can kind of play around with that a little bit, but when you're getting ready to get to that point, like you're like, I want to buy a house, then we have to talk to a lender, fill out a loan application, and they are going to do a hard credit pull. So don't be worried about that. Once we get to that point, it will be fine. Now, the second takeaway is don't be a hero. If you have some kind of collection on your credit report, don't pay it off with talking to the lender first. This often backfires, okay? Run everything by the team first. Bottom line, do not do anything. Because in some cases, let's say if you didn't have the car payment, you could actually afford more of the house, but you do have the money to pay off the car. It's just been sitting in your bank account. So you have the money for the house and you have the money to pay off the car. What the lender might tell you to do is pay off the car through the escrow. So that way the lender knows, okay, well, he or she is going to pay off the car through the escrow, and they're going to be able to afford this payment because now they're not going to have this payment. But we don't want them to pay off the car ahead of time because that could ding their credit score. Because if you ever saw your credit score go down after you made a big payment, like when I paid off my car, I kept the loan for a year, paid it off, my credit score dropped, and then my credit score eventually went up. You don't want that happening. So work with the lender because they may just have you pay it off during the actual escrow process. So here are the 5 steps to buy a house in the next 30 days. Now, let's keep all the costs in mind. And when we're done, you're going to have a list of costs and a plan. Okay, sound fair? Step 1, let's talk about who is going to be asking for what and how much and when. First things first, how much does it cost to have me get you in shape to buy a house? It costs nothing. Okay, to sit down and have the consultation is absolutely nothing. I know you're watching this video. You're going to walk in with a lot of knowledge, which I think is awesome. But it's absolutely going to cost you nothing to sit down with me. I am paid two ways. I'm paid at the close of escrow, for sure, but I'm either paid by the seller, or I'm paid by you, or I'm paid by a combination of you or the seller. Okay. And we will discuss that during our individual consultation about how that works. But for me to get you ready and in this position to buy a house, that costs nothing. Okay. So do the happy dance. We can do this without any cost up front, even if it takes me a year or longer. Listen, I'm here on your timeline. One of my clients I'm helping right now, I met at the end of 2021. We are now just getting ready to put the house on the market and getting ready to go make a purchase. So trust me when I tell you that I am on your timeline. This is not something that I'm going to rush you through if you're not ready, but I will keep in touch with you, okay? Step one, how much do I need? So when we find the home and execute a purchase offer, you're going to be asked to pay two fees. One of them is going to be your earnest money, which is commonly 1% of the sales price, which is a point of negotiation. And this is your skin in the game. So your skin in the game is typically anywhere from 1% to 3% of the overall purchase price. But that's always negotiable. But in most cases, if you're just putting down 3.5%, 1% is very sufficient. By doing that, you're going to be fine. Now, step two, we're going to make sure the deal has legs. And the second thing is the home inspection. You're going to be asked to pay that up front. And that's going to be paid directly to the home inspector. Now, depending on what you're buying, condo, detached house, whatever, those inspections are going to be anywhere from $400 to $600 just for the home inspection. Now, if you do any secondary inspections that may come into play, like the pool, stucco roof, HVAC, plumbing, those costs can vary. And some of them may be covered by the seller. I've gotten the seller to pay for a couple of those inspections for my buyer, but not always. So you might have to pay extra. So if you're buying a house with a pool, for example, that's a very expensive inspection. So if you're doing a home inspection, which is about $600, and then you're doing a pool inspection, that can be another $600. You layer on a termite inspection, which is $150 usually. Those are all things that are layered on. So just keep that in mind. Now, a few things are going to happen after the home inspection. Based on the inspection's result, we're going to do one of three things. Number one, we're going to either terminate the contract, get your earnest money back, and go find a new house. Because if you're not happy or you're not feeling good about it, we're going to terminate the contract. It's going to be over. Number two, we're going to pick 2 to 3 items to ask the seller to perform and fix. And typically, they're going to have to give us receipts or any warranties as well. Now, the downside to this is it's of their quality of work and not your quality of work. So I always recommend option 3. And that is negotiate additional money credit in lieu of repairs. Now, you're not going to get a cash for cash out credit on at closing. So let's say we negotiate $10,000, right? They're not going to give you a check for $10,000 at the closing. You're going to bring in less money to the deal. Okay, so you're going to bring in $10,000 less in closing costs. So if your closing costs are $16,000, they're now going down to $6,000. But let's say you want to bring in that $16,000 and use that $10,000 for a credit buy down or a rate buy down. You can do that. There are options. You just need to discuss the options with the lender. So there are multiple things that you can do. We just have to make sure that you're comfortable doing what you do. Now, keep in mind, the seller doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to give you any sort of credit. And at that point, you can walk away. Okay? You don't have to do any of this. But if the house has been on the market for a while, and trust me right now, in spring 2025, you're getting credits. Most of my deals are getting some sort of credit. Okay? So then all goes quiet. At the beginning, I forgot to mention, you are going to get your lender, once you sign your disclosures, after you get your, go through your loan, and this is what your interest rate is, yada, yada. They're going to ask you for your credit card, and you're going to pay for the appraisal. It's going to be between $600 and $700, and that is a fee that goes directly to the appraiser. They are going to charge you for that. So your upfront costs are going to be your home inspection, which will be non-refundable, your appraisal, which will also be non-refundable if you cancel the deal, and you're also going to have to put up your earnest money, which you could get back if you're not satisfied with the way the outcome of the inspections are. But then things are going to go quiet. But this is not your opportunity to go buy a bunch of furniture or Range Rover. Do not do this. That will throw your credit score bonkers, because the lender will do a soft credit pull, and they'll also check your employment at the end of the escrow, like 2 days before. The processor and the underwriter are going to go boop, 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 and they're going to look up you and your social security, and they're going to go, okay, the credit's gone up. This is great. The credit's gone way down. What happened? And they're going to look for that, and then they could deny your loan right there. And if you've released the contingencies, all your contingencies, because everything was good and then you went out and bought a bunch of stuff, you'll probably not get your earnest money deposit back. Okay, so be careful. Step 5, it's yours. We go down to the closing, you pay your down payment and closing costs, not covered by the seller, and you get your keys. Now, here's the biggest mistake. People don't hire a gladiator. What do I mean by a gladiator? Well, let's talk about that, because I'd like to consider myself to be a gladiator. What is a gladiator? First of all, any dummy can open up a pop a lockbox or show you a house, but it's my job not to just show you houses. My job is to pick up the sword and actually fight for you. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes that agents make is they go and they just set their clients up on this automatic drip, this boring drip of houses, and they're not really customizing or picking those houses. I spend pretty much all day on the MLS, and I'm looking for houses. I have little things. I get pinged when houses come up for different clients through what's called a hot sheet. And that hot sheet sends me notifications of the houses that are available. So it's my job to pick up the sword once we get into escrow, pick those houses and fight for you, and use the shield to protect you from any sort of harm, because trust me, there is harm. I'm dealing with an escrow right now where every single window has some sort of blacky brown substance on it. We can't call it mold because we're not mold experts, but let's just go and get that tested, because it looks like it could be something that might be a little bit funky, which is what we're doing. So what else is a gladiator? It's someone that wants your kids to go to a better school than you did. I mean, who doesn't want that for their children? I want to make the impossible possible. I want you to look at something and go, wow, I never thought I could have done this before I met Chris. So I want to make the impossible possible. And I want you to put more equity faster and retire earlier, because I squeezed us into the best deal in the best neighborhood by the hair of our chins. I mean, this kind of stuff happens, right? So we can do this. And selfishly, I want you to be an insane raving fan and tell everyone how good of a realtor I was. And I want you to get them to fire theirs and work with me. I want to do such a good job that this is something that I am willing to fight for you for. Now, let's talk about what gladiators do differently. When someone says it's impossible, we don't believe them. We don't believe that inventory is just on the MLS. Okay, we go hunting for it. We don't look for what you're looking for in the MLS. We go to the marketing department. We start making phone calls, call other agents. We're like, hey, hello, knock, knock, knock. Do you have anything that's coming up for sale? We find additional homes. We go to brokers' caravans. We're looking at stuff that, may be coming, might be coming soon, might be this. Like we're digging. We're also going to negotiate hard with people, some of whom are difficult. Typically, those home builders. We're going to beg listing agents and bribe builder reps necessary to get what you want. Listen, I am not above bringing 12 donuts to somebody or delivering an offer directly, or a bottle of wine. I'm a wine enthusiast. I will deliver an expensive bottle of wine to a listing agent to make stuff happen. And we're going to consume copious amounts of caffeine and analyze every listing in your search area that we can get under contract and under your monthly budget, because that is what we do. Remember, I said before, there are some agents who the other agents out there not doing this video for you, they're going to be the ones that are just going to set you up on the regular home search. I'm going to be the one that's going to be doing all the looking. Now, is every tactic I use going to work? No. But I am going to pull out all the stops until the problem submits. So let me ask you, as you are going through this, are you feeling a little less concerned? Are you feeling a little less stressed out? A little less intimidated or anxious or uncertain? Why? I hope that is the case. So now your job is to tell me what you really want. Let us worry about all that stuff and let's make it happen. Okay. So let's talk about the right order to do things. Starting here, you're going to choose a gladiator to work with who works well with buyers and sellers. Okay, that's number one. We're going to explore all creative financing options, first-time homebuyer programs, and we're going to choose the right local lender. Number three, we're going to run payment estimates on the if-only homes in the neighborhood, and we're going to work with a great lender to help us do that. We're going to visit builders with the realtor and play the walkaway game if we have to. We're going to negotiate seller credits hard, okay? And we're going to focus on the neighborhood. Now, if you would like to book a consultation with me, just a 30-minute consultation, you can go to this link. This is what it looks like when you open up the link. You can choose a time in my calendar. I've already got people booking that have watched this video live. So please go ahead and do that. And then we are going to go over all of this tailored to you, because everybody's experience is a little bit different, but at least you're walking in with the knowledge. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Tell me your timeline for buying a house. Tell me anything that you want to tell me, and tell me what you think of this video. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Drop your questions below. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.